Okay. We should talk about it. The Flash. Once you are past Ezra Miller, and making sense of the strong desire of Warner Bros. To keep him on as Barry Allen, instead of the CW's Grant Gustin, The Flash becomes digestible. However, no matter how digestible it became, I'm here to proclaim, the mission was not successful. The Flash was inspired by the animated movie, The Flashpointparadox, and based on the comic, Flashpoint. Instead of following this previously brilliant story concept, Warner Bros. Signed off on a disjointed script that omitted the best possible scenarios and deviated in the most senseless and perplexing ways. The Flash was more scattered than any DC Extended or Marvel Multiverse movies combined. Welcome back to Ivy Joe's Reviews, where today we will discuss our opinion on the 2023 movie, The Flash, and the top reasons why this movie is crashing at lightning speed. Number 1. The first several minutes of The Flash reflects Barry's lack of energy and need for calories to maintain his metabolism, which was entirely unnecessary and a waste of time and money to produce. He's the Flash, grab food from anywhere, in a flash. In light of Ezra's legal troubles, the school-age girls crushing over him were cringy. This portion of the film was insensitive, in many ways. For example, the babies that came flying out the hospital window, and in danger of crashing to the ground, while Barry sought out food. The Flash saves them, however. All I could think was how absurd to include this scene, dismissing possible unpleasant emotional responses from audiences, just to show this immature grown man in a tight suit, seeking food. With a metabolism like that, I would think the Flash would be leaner, like a Grant Gustin body type. Which brings me to my next point. Number 2. The weak, computer-generated imagery. CGI. The lack of quality CGI only illustrates my initial point, of a wasted film budget. This movie is The Flash. Therefore, there is an expectation. Ezra is continuously pausing to set up, before taking off running. This would have been a fantastic time to show the speed in which The Flash was running by way of CGI. Unfortunately, it was a missed opportunity. And by means this was not the only time the poor quality CGI let me down. A major departure from the CGI used for the Flash character, in the Justice League. Number 3. The decision to have Michael Keaton play Batman, instead of Michael Keaton playing Thomaswayne, Bruce Wayne's dad, from the storyline in the Flashpointparadox. I absolutely appreciated Michael Keaton's performance. Despite the message of the movie on letting go and moving on, I believe Michael Keaton had room to expand in this role. If General Zod could return, there remained room for Michael Keaton. Regardless of Michael Keaton playing Thomas or Bruce Wayne, I would have been invested. Keaton's approach illustrates Batman's psychosis. His ability to jump back into the role of a vigilante at any age, in a menacing fashion, was impressive. It was a mistake to borrow some of the Flashpoint paradox while ignoring all the other fanciful possibilities that could have creatively elevated this film. There were 2 Barrys in this film. Many people had a problem with just one Ezra, but to play a duplicate version of himself in another universe was a waste of opportunity. This film could have had way more potential if they had just mirrored the comic, The Flashpoint, and altered it in smaller, less significant ways. In the comic, Cyborg and Superman were the extra individuals, in place of a duplicate Barry and Supergirl. And instead of fighting General Zod, in the movie, Wonder Woman and Aquaman were actually the villains. And honestly, I finally adjusted to Ben Affleck as Batman by way of the Justice League, only to be replaced by George Clooney. Well, I suppose Clooney did play the Caped Crusader at one point in time, and Ben Affleck reportedly wanted out. It's difficult to believe that Nicolas Cage was ever scripted to play Superman, in a film directed by Tim Burton, and a script by Kevinsmith. Seeing him with his hair flowing in the air was another waste of time, money, and editing. The homage to the previous Superman and Supergirl was surprising, but what was even more surprising was the obvious choice to not show any footage or flashbacks of Henry Cavill as Superman. Also, the CGI during this footage was especially disjointed for the type of budget that goes into these films. The CGI watered down any nostalgia I wanted to feel for some of our most loved actors, such as Christopher Reeve and George Reeves. Number 5. Though I appreciated the dialogue on the similarities drawn from Back to the Future and the butterfly effect, the joke concerning Eric Stoltz playing Marty McFly instead of Michaeljfox in Back to the Future honestly went over my head. I wondered if this was a knock at replacing Henry Cavill, who previously played Superman, or the disregard for Grant Gustin from the CW, who was considered as a fan favorite for the film version of The Flash. I watched the first 2 Back to the Future movies, but had no idea that Eric Stoltz had any connections to the movie. It also didn't fall flat on me that Eric Stoltz was also in the butterfly effect. I went in expecting little, so perhaps that worked to the Flash's benefit. The similarities to the Flashpointparadox were intriguing, but the best parts that this movie could have borrowed were altered in the worst way, or left out in general. The CGI was undone, and the point of the film was misdirected. I also felt like subliminal messages were hidden behind the surface. What are your thoughts on The Flash? Did it meet your expectation? Did it seem drawn out or overdone? Was the casting, writing, producing, and directing purposely guided down a particular way, for a reason? Or do you think this is DC's way of catching up to Marvel and their multidimensional storyline, despite all of the replacing of actors? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments, please leave them below. And as always, thank you for watching Ivy Joe's Reviews.